Here we go, Barflies. Welcome to the Barfly Tailgate Show. You already know it's live. It's done by Barflies, for Barflies, and all the other Bears fans out there. I don't know if we expected anything less from that Packer game. I think we all thought we were going to get the doors blown off, man. But we're wishful thinkers around here. Let me start this thing off and introduce the crew we got today. We got Mr. AC, the bearded Bears fan, Aaron Current, the Kentucky kid. There's way too many names. What's up, man? How are you?
What's going on, fellas? The man of many names, I guess. Man, first I'll start with the weather report. It's getting cold here in Kentucky. Jack Frost has shown up and blew all over the landscape of Kentucky here. And, man, you talk about a difference a week makes. I mean, this time last week, I was like, man, we're still in this. You know, we could go week 17 and have the division on the line. And now I'm ready to rebuild. But I woke up this morning. I threw my free plug for the Fable Beard Company. That's who I use for my beard oil. I threw in my Christmas cookie beard oil. I'm smelling good, feeling good. I'm ready to go.
Man, Christmas cookie beard oil?
Oh, buddy, I'm telling you, it smells so good.
Dude, I'd be a fat kid in a week. If smelling that, I'd just be continuing to eat, man. Next, we got Mr. Mike Schaefer. Mike, what's up, brother? How are you?
What's up, fellas? I feel like I can smell that all the way over here, AC. It smells delicious. I'm in the holiday spirit. 0-1 with you guys. I think we saw it coming last week, but
yeah.
The Lord gives us the Detroit Lions today. We get back on track. We get a good show going here. We get a good tailgate started, and we roll right into a victory Sunday, hopefully. So excited to be back with you guys and talking Bears football once again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're honored to have you. We might get KB joining us a little later. Mr. Badgley is still under the weather. Badge, get well soon, man. He'll be in the chat, I'm sure, and hiding in there. And we might have a couple little surprises for you guys today that I haven't even told these guys because I didn't think about it till right now. But hey, whatever. Maybe we'll do a little something special. All right, let's start with this little recap, man. I don't even know how much we want to go into it. We got blown out 41-25. Packers didn't come to town. They just whooped our ass either way. You know how it goes. Rodgers comes out, 4 touchdowns, no sacks, no interceptions. I don't even think we got a quarterback hit on him. Which
we did once, and they threw a flag.
Yeah, but I mean, you're never gonna beat the Packers if you don't have pressure on Rodgers. If you let that dude sit back there and just pick you apart and change and hot route and what, you're never gonna defeat the Packers without that. Just a tough game all around, man. Started off a little shitty. Mitch gets some garbage time touchdowns. I'd call them garbage time. I don't know, man. AC, let's start with you, dude. What's your little recap of the game? And, let us know what you thought.
Man, I mean, the biggest shocker to me was how flat the defense looked. They just came out and they looked like they didn't want to play. They didn't pressure Rodgers, and part of that's Fangio. He kept doing 3-man rushes, and you can't do that. And then you see these plays by Aaron Jones. He was just, I mean, it seemed like he got a first down every time he touched the freaking ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we missed Akeem Hicks and we've missed Eddie Goldman all year, but man, you got to have some intestinal fortitude and step up to the plate, man, and do your job. I mean, I love Mac, don't get me wrong, but we're paying him all that money, and he was not there he didn't show up on the stat sheet at all, did he? I mean,
yeah, I mean, we got a little clip about Mac here, but we'll drop that thing in a little later. But we do have a little setup with Mac coming. I mean, Mitch comes out. He's got his 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He fumbles 3 times.
I thought the offense looked okay, other than turnovers. I mean, we ran the ball pretty well. O-line did a decent enough job, and turnovers will kill you every time, obviously. And it's like we were trading field goals with touchdowns. You can't do that with anybody.
Yeah, I know you kind of mentioned, with Hicks. Mike, do you think would Hicks have helped? I mean, I guess he would have helped a little bit, but would we still been smoke showed even with Hicks?
Well, I think they still lose the game. And like we talked about it last week, man, like he's the heart and soul of the defense. So even as a fan, when right before the game we found out that he was officially out, Like the air was out of the balloon. If the air is out of the balloon for us, you got to believe that has some sort of an impact on his teammates. And, AC, it's kind of funny. I hear you calling out the defense, and that's a questionable thing to do in this town these days.
Hey.
I know. How about it?
We'll talk more about that later, probably. But yeah, I mean, I think that was, it had an impact. Did it make the difference of the game? No, right? Because there were plenty of weaknesses and weak spots. You had guys slipping all over the field on offense. There were some positive signs on offense, but those 3 turnovers were daggers, right? Green Bay got points off all 3 of those turnovers. And, so there was a lot more than just missing Hicks. But again, the game starts and air was out of the balloon, not all the air, but a lot of the air. And he's critical to this team. I hope he plays today. He's still questionable at this point, from what I understand. And the way Peterson roasted us in week 1, we're definitely going to need that run protection, run stop protection up front. So that's the impact I think that Hicks made, or the lack thereof.
What'd you guys think of Laser's play calling? I mean, the running game got off, it was going. I mean, we seen, I think for only the second time we went over 100 yards with Monty. I don't know. I mean, is it more, do you think it's easier for them to run this offense with Laser calling it than it was for Nagy?
I don't think I can answer that question, but going to the run early, another thing we talked about last week being a key, and they did it. They kind of had to go away from it because they fell behind. Yeah. So you've got to do everything you can to stay even or get ahead early, and you go to that run. A lot of those yards were in that one run that Monty had early in that first drive. But I don't know. It's hard for me to tell if there's a difference between the plays he's calling. I saw a lot of passes slants over the middle. Exactly. A lot of those short yarded chunk gains that we need to see more of. There were a few outs to Mooney and Miller that were good passes. So it's tough to tell because you have a totally different quarterback. It's a different game plan. And I don't know if Nagy or, would his calls have been that different, but it's been better, whether it's Mitch or Laser or a combination of both.
Yeah. AC, what about you, man?
Ditto. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Mike. I don't know if it's Laser or if it's Mitch, but the offense seemed to run smoother under Mitch. And again, when you try to lean on a running game and you get down 21-3, then you have no choice but to pass the ball. And then that's when we ran into trouble and had the face mask that was missed. And then just yank his face mask till the ball pops out, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's a good going in game plan. Just grab onto his face mask and pull until the ball falls. But me, so I think I'm on the opposite side of it. I am on the opposite side. I think Laser builds a better game plan than Nagy has. Whether or not Nagy's helping him build the game plan, but with the run game, with Laser running, he is playing off of plays and running play action and putting things together, I think, better than Nagy does, right? Like chemistry wise. He's using the same play to where one of them is a dive or a trap or whatever, right? But then he's coming back with that same setup, same everything formation, fakes the handoff, throws the ball. He's utilizing the run game to get him into the play action. Which I think is a huge failure in when Nagy's calling plays, because we've seen him only run the ball 6 times or only do this and that, right? To where they're keyed in on what he's doing. So whether or not it is the quarterback, whether or not it's people or the other team respecting that Trubisky actually has legs and can move, I just thought that chemistry wise and putting it together, that Laserhead did a better job playing off of his own playbook instead of just randomly picking a play, which is what it seemed to me like too many times Nagy does. Randomly pick a play, then figure out once they're at the line of scrimmage that they have the wrong personnel in for that formation. And then like, fuck it, kill it, do whatever you want. Like, I don't know, man.
Call a timeout with 1 second left on the play clock. That's the biggest improvement I'm seeing with Nagy handing off play calling, is we're not seeing them waste timeouts for delay of games or just straight up get a delay of game.
Exactly.
He's getting his personnel in and out, and that's
so in that sense of it, I think Lazer's calling a better game collectively than Nagy had throughout the whole season, just because of the way he's building off of personnel and play calling and who's in there and who's not style. And like AC said, we're not seeing the delay of game penalties. So they're not like, you don't have a guy in there. Those normally have come from the personnel packages. So you have a guy in there that's not supposed to be in there. That's like, yo, where am I going on this play? Like what?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be in here. Am I splitting out? Where do you want me? And it's just confusion, I think, before. But then again, we're still on a 5-game slide. We're still on the 5 losses in a row, the worst slide since John Fox's final season. It's not like things have been pretty. And I think maybe we're just trying to, dress up a pig here and say that, yeah, Lazer's doing great when in all honesty, it's just kind of been a shit show for these last 5 games. Then you got Tayshaun Gibson. You got Gibson coming out. And I know we'll get to Nagy calling out the defense here in a little bit, but we got this clip coming up on what Gibson had to say. Gibson basically, I would say, in my own words, I would say that he thought that it was a no-win. The way that the defense was schemed and ready to go, that the Packers basically had their number. So let's drop this in here real quick, and then AC, go ahead and pick up at when it's over on what your thoughts on it are.
Oh, man, I can't speak specifically for the offense side of the ball, but, man, defensively, anytime a guy can come and score every single drive. I think they punted one time. Maybe somebody can correct me. I think they punted one time. I think that's unfortunate. That's unacceptable. So anytime that you have a situation where they big brothered us for the most part, it just was like my big brother used to do me when I was 12 and 11 before I got bigger than him. Obviously, it just was something that I've never seen before, done to this defense. Obviously, like I said, man, we have players and we have guys who play hard. For me to sit here and give you words, you look back and watch film, they knew it's like they knew everything that we was doing, and they had checks and they had answers for every call that we had. It just was one of those games, man, with, like I said, everything went right for those guys, man. And it seemed like nothing can click for us.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. I think they talked about it, or someone talked about it in a post-game show, that he was calling like 2 or 3 times. He was like, watch 24, and he called their blitz. He knew what they were doing before we knew what the hell we were doing, and yeah, I don't know if that's familiarity with a rivalry where he plays 2 times a year or what caused that. But Rodgers had our number, and he's just a great quarterback. And I don't know. I have no answers. I didn't expect. I don't know if I expected us to win last week, but I didn't expect us to get embarrassed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially defensively. And he just picked us apart. He just stood back there and was like, it reminded me of the water boy when he's watching film and they fumble it. And he's like, he's got time to pick the ball up. He brushes the ball off and he walks into the end zone. And I was like, just heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. And to have, a guy like Gibson, he's a vet. He's been in the league a long time. He's been on different teams. To have him come out and say about this defense specifically, like, we just got embarrassed. They knew everything we were going to do. They knew every play call. They had us here. They had us there. They had the checks. It just shows, I think, how poorly coached this team is. And I don't know how else you chalk it up, man. How else do you chalk it up if your team is that? And then, it gives some. A lot of the credit goes to Aaron Rodgers, but for the coaches to put him in those positions and put him in, if you're that like easily detectable, you're obviously doing something wrong. And
there are zeros. I'm a Kentucky fan. I love Danny Trevathan, but there's 0 times he should be covering Devontae Adams in an entire. There's no way it should even happen.
Yeah,
I don't know if Buster Screen's a whole lot better, but golly, man, he's a He's a tackling machine at middle linebacker. He is not a coverage linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers should be able to do stuff like that against the worst defenses in the NFL. Not a top 10 defense, a top 5 defense. So you're right. It comes down to coaching and having these guys prepared. I don't know what they're tipping, or are they tipping things off too easily? That's all coaching, right? That's all preparation. That's all, game plan. But I agree with everything AC said, and it was visible. Like, I didn't even need the broadcasters to say anything. With no fans in the stands, you hear everything, and you could hear Rodgers. He's pointing at every single thing that's happening, and you're just sitting there like dumbfounded. Like, how are they giving this away? And I hate giving credit to Rodgers too. You got to give him a little credit, but a top 10 defense in the NFL doesn't allow that, doesn't enable that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, man. And that's a Packers team that only beat the Jags by 4 points the week earlier. So what was the difference? Was it because they're a rival, or I don't understand. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and once Aaron Rodgers is definitely. I can hear somebody with a big deep breath right there. But either way, Aaron Rodgers is one of those. Aaron Rodgers is one of those one of those players, man, that once he gets rolling, right? Once he gets on his little hot streak, he just continues to get better and better as the game goes. He's a dude that if you don't get this pressure on, like we were saying earlier, and you don't throw him out of his mix, he's going to continue to just keep lighting you up and have fun doing it. Oh yeah, he seems like such a prick doing it too. I mean, yeah, and he starts breaking out the double check and the championship belts, and you know what I mean. And if you don't have him throwing iPads on the sidelines, or you don't have him freaking out in a game, he's gonna just tear you apart, man. And I mean, we got these clips here, and I mean, some of it's poor tackling. We see him easily walk for a first down there on poor tackling. I know we can't hear the audio, but on some of these ones, like during the game, you hear Rodgers straight calling out the play as to what's going to happen and what's here, what's there. There's your boy Danny Trevathan trying to get coverage on one of the top wide receivers in the NFL, which makes zero fucking sense. And it's just, honestly, the whole thing was just a smoke show, man. We got straight beat up. Makes me hate Rodgers and the Packers even more, but I mean, we let them do this to us every time we play them. And now we'll see them one more time. We'll see them one time at the last game of the year. It might count for us. We might see Jordan Love. Yeah, we're still talking about a Bears team that is one game out of the playoffs. And we got this stretch coming up, man. And I mean, we got 4 of our last 5 games are against teams that are below 500. Not that says much for us, but either way, that's what it is. And we could find a way to limp into the playoffs, and the hope all comes back to Chicago and this and that, and then we'll honestly, I don't know. Of course, I want to make the playoffs, right? But I think it's going to be embarrassing if we do. And that's kind of where I'm at. Unless we can play the NFC East champions, play against the Giants or whoever doesn't want to lose that division.
How Bears is that though, right? Like, we're talking, we still have hope. They can still make it. They've lost 5 in a row. The damn Lions are like, all right, we get to play the Bears this week, right?
Yeah.
The teams we're playing that we're saying, well, they're under 500. Minnesota's one of them. They beat us, right? Like, they're thinking the same exact thing when they look at the Bears coming up on the schedule with what we've put up the last few weeks. So I will root for them to win. I will root for them to make the playoffs. But I agree with you 100% that when we get there, we will get our clocks cleaned, and it's going to be ugly. So, like, do we want that? I don't know. But yes, we do because we're fans.
Yeah, let me ask you guys this, and I know which side I'm on, and then for you guys in the chat, let us know what you think too. You've seen this thing, all you guys, I'm sure, have seen it on Twitter, where people clamoring to lose out. People saying, well, we need to lose out. We need to lose out. We need to fire this guy, fire that guy, and lose out. I 100% am not in that camp. I've never been in that camp of losing. I don't know how you pitch to a team that that's what you should do, or how as a coach, or even an organization for that point, how you think it's okay to do that. But I think Greg Braggs is the one who had it posted up on there as a poll, and it was like 52 to 48%. Like 48% of the fans wanted to lose out. And
here's the counter argument. I'm always going to be a Bears fan. I always want my team to win. But I don't know if Nagy's system works. We've seen it for weeks. We've seen it most of the year. His offense does not look great. If we win out, he's not going anywhere. If we lose out, he's probably out the door. So as a Bears fan, you have to look at that and say, A, if you want a shot at one of these decent quarterbacks in the draft and a shot to rebuild, you're going to have to lose some ball games. And B, like I just said, if you win ball games, Nagy's going to be here, Pace is going to be here, and we're going to run it back, baby. Is this the guys that you want here to set this team on track? I mean, we went from 12-4 to 8-8 to we're on track right now to go 5-11. So I don't see how these are the guys these are the guys that are going to figure it out. Ryan Pace has nailed all of his draft picks.
That's kind of okay. So look, basically what you said to me is you don't want to lose out, but you'd be okay if it happens, or do you want to lose out?
Yeah, I don't want to lose out, but I'm okay with it if it happens because I want to see change, and I know I won't see change unless we lose some ball games.
So I think I would honestly say that that's probably, and I'm just making this that's probably where I'm just making this shit up, right? But that's probably where like 80%, let's say, of Bears fans is like, no way in hell do I want them to lose out. But if they do, and they decide to uproot everything and change it, I'm okay with that. Like, I think that's where a lot of people are at. But for the people that are like, no, I'm rooting against them for the rest of this time, that's what I can't get on board with. I don't understand how people could be like, I want what's best for my team. And in order to get that, I need them to lose. I need them to lose every game. Because how many first-round busts have there been, though? I mean, throughout the history of the NFL, nothing says that you lose out and you're going to guaranteed get a fucking 100% stock player ready to go who's going to change your franchise.
Look at the Browns, look at the Bengals, look at the Jaguars, look at teams that are perpetually bad, the Lions. Yeah. They're always drafting in the top 5, and it doesn't really turn a franchise around. I think I'm in the 80%. I mean, I can't come Sunday. I made up statistics. Yeah. Well done.
Very well, thanks.
Maybe now it's 81% now that I'm in it. I'm in that camp, and come Sunday, I can't root against this team. I can't blame or I can't fault fans though that are in the lose out camp.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're smarter. They're the smart ones, because that same mentality that we have of like, all right, well, if they win, great. If they lose, that's positive too. That's like, I think that's the organization's mentality. And that's why we've been stuck in mediocrity for 30 years. You end up 9-7, 8-8. The number of times that they've finished 7-9, 8-8, and 9-7 has got to be, Bobby, you're the stat guy, 80%. I'm guessing
there you go.
80%, right? But that's what we get over and over, because I think that's the organizational philosophy. So win or lose, changes have to be made. I think there's a path too to keeping pace, and maybe Nagy too, but making other changes in the front office, namely moving Ted Phillips into more of a business president role and bringing in a president of football ops. Yes, bring some people in that can coach these guys. Ryan Pace has had nobody in the organization that he reports to or that sits above him in the food chain that knows a lick about football. Yeah. And as a new GM, I still think he can be good. He's made a lot of good decisions, and he might be an up-and-coming promising guy. But you don't hire a promising guy into a scenario or a situation where there's no other football minds in the organization. So that whole philosophy of, well, it would be good if we win, it would be okay if we lose. I think that's the Bears. And that's why we're stuck in this perpetual 8-8, low draft pick. You draft in 18, you're drafting 16, year after year after year, and you can't make change. So I tip my cap to the fans that are saying lose out, and that they can have the guts to go watch a football game on Sunday and actually root for them to lose, which is like, mind-boggling to me. That's a big head scratcher. I can't put myself in that scenario. But to the folks that say that, y'all might be the smarter ones in this scenario.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, I guess if I ever had to pick a time where I think I would be like, yeah, we need to lose, it would probably be like the last 2 games of the season. The whole season's been just horrific anyway. And it's between us and one other team for the number 1 pick, right? And it all depends on these last 2 games. Then maybe at that point I'd be like, yo, this team's just given up and whatever. But that would still be hard for me to do. But like you said, Mike, maybe some of these guys are just smarter than we are with like, no, you need to do this, do that. I don't put a lot of stock into having first round picks. I mean, I do in a sense, right? But I'm just saying first round picks don't always pay off. And on one side of it, we can't say that that all of us were absolutely okay with trading those first round picks for Mac, because we don't need them, because every now and then, like, you pull these busts and these guys, this and that. And now this year we're like, well, fuck it, let's lose out so we get this first round pick and it's higher. Like, where's the bipolarism and all that shit where we're okay with giving them away for Mac, but then we're like, oh no, we need our first round pick because whatever. So we just need to lose the rest of these games.
Well, especially when Ryan Pace is the guy making the pick.
Yeah.
Right. Roquan, maybe his best and only first round pick that's worth anything. So like, yeah, it is a bipolar. Well, they didn't matter then. They matter now. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. I don't know, man. AC, I see you smiling, man. What do you think?
I mean, I said that when we traded for Mac. I was like, yeah, I'm okay with Khalil Mack being our first round pick the next couple of years. Because Khalil Mack is a dynamic pass rusher, and especially at quarterback and pass rusher, which is probably what you're going to draft in the first round, either left tackle, quarterback, or pass rusher. So I was okay with that because you know what you're getting in them, and you didn't know what you were getting out of the draft unless you are first or second or third and trade up for a second or however you do it.
Yeah,
I think that's what drives people crazy about Pace too. I mean, the guy has conviction on a player, and he's gonna do what he's got to do to get that guy, regardless of what position he's in. And the Mitch trade is, I mean, you traded up one spot when there was 3 quarterbacks that were neck and neck in almost everyone's mind, and that was part of his decline with the fan base, I think.
Well, yeah, there was the conviction. I respect that, but you got to be right. Like,
you have to be right. Yes,
and if not, there needs to be accountability.
Yeah, I mean, if he would have traded up and got Mahomes, right, then he'd be the smartest fucking man out there. But
I don't know, would Mahomes do what he's doing here?
Exactly. That's the other side of it.
He doesn't have Tyreek Hill. He doesn't have Travis Kelce. He doesn't have a head coach that's coached in this league for over 20 years and he's seen a thing or two, you know. So
yeah.
I mean, he'd probably be better than Mitch, no question, because he's just an incredible quarterback. But he wouldn't be putting up MVP numbers, I don't think.
Yeah. And you're right. I don't think he'd be able to do it in this. But I mean, you know, with a little plug to the Godfather, I mean, if Aldo was the GM, we'd have a fucking all-pro guard in Deshaun Watson right now. You know what I mean? Those would have been our picks because that's who we would have
had. We would have had to trade up for that all-pro guard, though.
Yeah. We definitely would have. But either way, that's what we would have had. Hey, so I'm kind of just threw it out there to the guys in this little private chat, but I think we're gonna give away a signed Allen Robinson football this morning. If you want in on this thing, just comment in the chat. I'm gonna ask AC. AC, I'm gonna kind of put you to work here. I'm gonna ask AC. Just put want in the chat. If you want it, drop the word want in the chat. AC is gonna take those names and randomly generate a winner, and. And we're gonna fucking give it away here at the end. or not, maybe not even at the end. Maybe we'll do it in a little while. But signed Allen Robinson, Badge of Honor Football. If you want in on this thing, let us know. I mean, if we give it away today and they want to give it out to somebody or somebody, as a Christmas present, then at least they have the time to do it. So AC, sorry, man, but I'm gonna throw you to work. I'm throwing you to the wolves.
I don't even know how to do this. all I can see is YouTube. So if y'all ain't on YouTube, I'm sorry, you better hop over there.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then I don't know how to do a random name generator thing.
All right, whatever. I can take care of it. I'll do it. And we'll give this thing away here shortly. But maybe let's give it away at the top of the hour. All right, so we got 28 minutes, and we'll give it away in 28 minutes. Let's move into the Lions thus far, man. So thus far with the Lions, we got a 4-7 team who just fired Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. They went ahead and cleaned house after a 2-game losing streak. Granted, they've lost more games than that, but after a 2-game losing streak, they went ahead and cleaned house. Right after Thanksgiving, and I believe they did it right.
Embarrassment on Thanksgiving. It was like that was the last straw.
Yeah, for sure. What do we got with this team coming at us? I know Daryl Bevel is now the new coach. There's nobody above him. He's the interim. There's nobody above him trying to, stop him. Or is this like the cat's away and I'm just going to go do whatever I want? Like, do we see a new team or a different team coming into here, Sunday, today?
I think we do. I think we do. I think you see a looser Lions team. Like, there's a lot of parallels between the shit show that is the Detroit Lions and the shit show that is the Chicago Bears. Getting embarrassed on national TV last week, the trajectory of the team, performance by the GM and the head coach. But the one big key difference in the two teams is that the team, as I can tell, the Bears still very much respect Matt Nagy. Players love him. In Detroit, the players did not love Matt Patricia. And you saw some players leave because of it. Slay left because he didn't get along with Patricia. And he has style that kind of rubs people the wrong way. Daryl Bevel's the opposite. From what I heard from a lot of the Detroit beat writers this week was that the music was blaring at practice again, all practice long. The players were having fun. And I think you're going to see a different Lions team. It's still a bunch of backups and shitty players, though. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to make a huge difference. But I think we do see a better, looser, more revved up team that will be playing today versus the team we faced in week 1.
Yeah. I think so for sure, man. And I think like a lot of the times when this stuff happens, and then we kind of related this to Bill Lazor last week, right? But a lot of times when this stuff happens, you got guys that are like, oh, we got to play hard for this dude. Like we want to see him be successful. And it's because of the respect or the like admiration maybe that they have for the man in the position. And we're like, hey, we can't let him down. We got to go out there and do this and do that. And I think in order to get the team to continue to buy in, that some things have to change. I don't think we're going to see the same lines. You can't turn around and be like, hey, we're going to get it this week, boys. And hey, we're running the same offense. And we're going to do the same. Something has to be thrown in there, whether it's a trick play, whether it's a different whatever, right? But there has to be some sort of carrot dangled out there that's like, hey, this is what we're going to do to kind of keep, to re-energize and refocus the team. And this was a guy that, he was looked at for a lot of head coaching positions.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible that he is, the answer. And I think he knows that, and he's got 5 games to prove himself. And, we'll see what they bring to the table today, but I definitely don't expect to see the same Lions team coming in here.
No, he was in the running for the Chicago job.
Yeah.
I think when Dressman got hired. And he's repeatedly been in the running and always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of a situation.
Yeah.
So I wonder there, what's the missing link, but the players love him. Adrian Peterson came out this week too, giving him very high praise. And I think a lot of players that have played for him in the past have done the same. So yeah, we should expect a little bit of fire and intensity that maybe we didn't see in week 1.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted about it after the Packers loss. The Bears have gone from 5-1 to now playing again. If the Lions beat us this week, we have the same record. So we're playing for the basement of the NFC North. And
That doesn't sound good. Oh.
I know, but I mean it is what it is. And Darrell Bevell, he was a coach in Seattle, correct, before he went to Detroit? Because I feel like I remember him up there, and and I remember I liked him a lot, and I liked his system. Now Russell Wilson's gone on to explode and put up MVP numbers, and we just see how good he is, and so Bevel will be out to show that his system works. And Matt Stafford's a hell of a quarterback too. I mean, Aaron Rodgers gave him props on. I guess he's doing some sort of podcast now. I see clips from it on Barstool, and he was like, "A guy that gets overlooked in this league is wearing number 9 out there in Detroit. The things he can do with the ball." And I agree with him. Matt Stafford's a lot better quarterback than he's ever given credit for because he's surrounded by a crappy team. Or Pat Stafford, as Trey Busy used to call him. I like that nickname because he's always he's always got the stats. So if you need a fantasy QB, he's a good one to have.
Yes, the stat Pafford. But I mean, I don't know how far away Nagy is from Patricia. Like you said, Mike, I think Nagy still has the team, which Patricia actually lost the players, right? But we even seen after these couple of weeks, you see players come out and defend Nagy. And then with the whole defense, calling out the defense thing, you've seen guys come out and say that was okay. And we got that coming up here in a minute, but you've seen guys saying like that was okay. And they weren't, offended by that or whatever. And then the last thing I just, on this piece of it, a lot of people are calling this a trap game. Can this even be determined a trap game? We're a below 500 team.
I don't see how it's considered a trap game. To me, a trap game is a game against a smaller opponent, a less known or liked opponent, matched in between two really good opponents. And I don't see how that would be our case when we had Packers, Lions, and then who we play next week, Texans. So to me, it doesn't register. Maybe somebody in the chat can, if someone in the chat is in that camp, they can explain that. But I don't get how it's a trap game. I don't want to jump ahead, but the Texans are looking pretty good on offense since they got rid of Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, I know, man. All right, so let's get back to this thing real quick. We got Nagy. So Nagy went and called out the D after the game. A lot of Chicago were pissed off about it, man. A lot of people were pissed off that he actually called out the defense. And I think it's only because that was like the one bright spot. But I mean, and I'll get your guys' opinions on it afterwards too, and I'll give you mine. But we got what Akeem Hicks thinks of Nagy calling out the D. So let's drop that in here real quick, and then we'll get your guys' thoughts on it.
I like tough coaching. My personal prescription. I've always had tough coaches, and I've always had people that are not afraid to get after you and tell you what it is and what it isn't. So I respect it. I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting that challenge. For instance, there was a game earlier this year. Maybe it was, I don't remember what game it was, but we gave up a considerable amount of rushing yards. And one of the things that he told us was that we look like Swiss cheese out there. And I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming to me and telling me, that I need to be better, that the team needs to be better, that there's something that I need to improve on. So anytime there's the tough verbiage, I enjoy it, and I enjoy trying to meet that challenge. So I was good with it.
I think a lot of the reason why it rubbed Bears fans the wrong way is because the defense has kind of dragged us through most of the wins this year. But when one side of the ball isn't doing their job, regardless of what they've done all season, they need to be called out. And on another note, I really like that hat. If anybody wanted to give me a Christmas present, that'd be really awesome if I could get.
I mean,
but I'm right there with him. I mean, you gotta hold your play. We talk about holding players accountable. You gotta let them know when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now Nagy doesn't always do that. We've seen him take up for Trubisky or say, well, I got to look at the tape, or we hear that a lot as far as his offense. And I don't know if that's just a personal thing with him. And that may be another reason why it rubbed fans the wrong way. But as a coach or someone in charge, you've got to take accountability for your players not doing their job. And no one can watch that Packers game and say the defense did their job.
Yeah, and listen, it's contextual, right? We're privy to 30 seconds of Matt Nagy sound bites. We don't know what was talked about behind closed doors after the game. Mm-hmm. And the reaction that the players gave tells me that it really wasn't that big of a deal. I think if I'm Matt Nagy, I may have communicated that a little bit different. But when you're in the heat of the moment, you get the question, you answer the question one way, things can be taken out of context or things can spin out of control. Lord knows, we were all calling the defense out on Sunday on Twitter. All Bears fans were. Right? So I don't think there's any problem with it. And the way that Gibson responded and Hicks responded shows that the players respect it too. I think the one thing maybe I do differently is say, look, make sure you make the point that, look, the defense has carried us for the last 2 seasons. The game on Sunday, they did not. They did not play to performance. And as a team, we didn't play. So like really focusing and emphasizing the team aspect and the fact that they've been there week after week. I don't think the fans would have said a single word about it, but just the way that it was laid out. And again, you get 30 seconds or you get a minute of clip. And it doesn't always tell the whole story. So I wasn't too bothered by it, thinking of that,
Yeah, I wasn't bothered by it at all, honestly. Like, and I know Gibson came out because I guess Nagy went back and addressed the defense again, like this week or earlier this week after that initial one, saying like, hey, just to clear things up, this is what I meant, whatever. But honestly, I don't think you should have to do that. Like, this is the head coach. Like, if you're the head coach, I don't give a fuck who you call out. Call out everybody. Like, if you think, and I think that's where these fans and where everybody thinks like, because of Nagy's gone through the last couple of years saying like, oh, I would never put a player on the spot, or I wouldn't do this, or I wouldn't do that. But now in a time of like reactive, he calls out a side of the ball, or even if he was to call out specific players, he's the head coach. I don't give a shit if he calls them out. Like, since when is it not okay for a head coach to call out a player? And I think like, the media and fans kind of took this and ran with it. Like, oh my God, can you believe he said this about? No, it's not unbelievable to me. Like, good. He's the head coach. Let him blast somebody, but he's been so like sugarcoating and so bubble wrapped of players and Trubisky and just everything in general that when he does do this, it's like this huge reaction. When literally he should just be able to call somebody out and go from there. Whether or not should he do it in front of the media? No, I don't agree with that. But I think he should be fine saying like, hey, the wide receiver group really hurt us today. Or saying, the offensive line struggled and they've been struggling. Or I don't think that's like far-fetched for a coach to do that. And for everybody to react the way they did, I think was more of a problem. And it's obvious that he is paying attention to the media and paying attention to those things because he had to go back and readdress and kind of lay things flat with the defense after it happened. But in my opinion, I think he should do it. I think he should do it every damn game. I think he should pull people off the field, grab freaking Leno or grab damn Coward when they miss a play and yell at him. Like, do what he did to Trubisky that one game where he was like,
man the F up.
Yeah, man the fuck up. Like, we need you to like, and that got caught on camera, him saying that. And I think that is what's needed. But yet, I don't know. Everybody overreacts and gets after, what they think is right or what they
Twitter overreacting. Gas.
Never. Yeah, never. It says a lot about where we are too, right? This is what we're talking about. Really, like, so it's a pretty bad space to be in.
Absolutely. Like, Maybe, and this is a little quick plug for our boys over at Audacia. If you guys don't know them, check them out on Twitter. Audacia check out Audacia on Twitter. Maybe we need a Willy Wonka Candyman thing for Matt Nagy since he likes to sugarcoat everything. Maybe
I don't know how many stickers they'll sell because he's gonna be around for 5 years. I mean,
maybe.
Just wait to see who we hire.
I think the Cutler stickers are doing well. So apparently in this town, once you leave, that's when people start to like it. So maybe.
My father-in-law, he was in the Navy. He spent time in San Diego and became a huge Chargers fan. And he's always hated Jay Cutler. When we traded for Jay Cutler, I was like, okay, let's see what he can do. And he was like, I just can't stand the guy. And I was like, well, I think part of that's because you're a Chargers fan. And he came from Denver. But he's like, no, I just don't like him. And he's got a story that he tells. I'm sorry, I'm going to go off on a little tangent.
No, go ahead, get it. I'm all good.
So he had we all know Cutler came from Vandy. He's probably the only good player they've ever had. And they're in the SEC, and we had a buddy who went down to see Kentucky play against Vandy in Nashville, and Jay Cutler was on the sideline, and he's FaceTiming his wife. So he's got his phone up like this, and Jay turns around and goes, "Hey, don't take pictures of me." He's like, "I'm not taking pictures of you." And then I guess Jay saw it again. He's like, "I told you not to take pictures of me." And he's like, "I'm not taking pictures of you." And Jay goes, "Do you know who I am?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, you're that Rex Grossman guy, aren't you?" So my father-in-law loves to tell that story, and I'm always just like, the way I see it, Jay was brought here when we traded for Jay. We thought we were a quarterback away, and he was the missing piece. So he was brought here under the assumption that he's bringing championship, at least a championship, to Chicago. And he was always held to that standard. And Jay, even back at Vandy, he was a gunslinger. He slung it around. He's going to get touchdowns, but he's also going to turn the ball over. Yeah. And then on top of that, he just had the attitude where he didn't care what you thought about him. And I guess that rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah. He's a topic I think Bears fans will talk about forever. He was back in the news this week. I forget which player, but one of the guys he played with said he was the worst leader he's ever played with.
That was Devin Hester.
Oh
yeah, right.
Devin Hester. So that was it kind of resurfaced the interview with Hester where they're playing pool, right? That was I want to say that original interview was like a year or so ago, but it resurfaced and Hester was like, like he's just a horrible leader. And that he because he didn't create a relationship with the wide receivers. The only one he had a relationship with was Marshall. Yeah. And then how the next 41 throws or whatever it was went straight to Marshall in practice. And, however that thing went down, but it was, here we go.
There's that video.
No, he's the gift that will always just keep on giving in this town. Jay Cutler. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah. And like Mike was saying earlier, Audacia has the Jay Cutler. It's like a new Smoking Jay sticker, but you guys could check that out. The bottom line right there that's going across with the Facebook account, and then the Twitter account is at Audacia Sports. So check them out. Get over there, pick up some stickers. Everything that they do goes to a certain charity, a specific charity. So anytime you buy something, the proceeds go over to a designated charity. Whether it all depends on which player sticker or which one you get, because they all have different charities lined up for them. But check out Audacia Sports and get over there and see what they got going on. So I don't know how we go from Smoking Jay to
hey, Jay's got a pretty good Instagram too.
I thought didn't he leave Instagram? I have an Instagram account, but I don't ever really go on it, man. But
his Instagram used to be ran by someone else. It was called If Jay Had Instagram, and they would just take Kristen Cavallari's pictures of him and put it on theirs. And I guess Jay bought the account, and so now he just got pictures of him hunting and farming and just doing Jay stuff. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. He's just a Tennessee kid out there farming.
Yeah. All right. So we're 9 minutes away from the top of the hour where we will raffle off the signed Allen Robinson football. So if you want it, get in there. Just type in the chat want. That's all you got to do. Type in the chat want. If you're with us on the show, it'll pop up no matter what streaming service you're using. So type want in the chat, and Mr. Aldo Gandia is running this for us right now. But this is what you'll get: a signed Bears Barroom Badge of Honor, Allen Robinson football. And we'll get it out to you you'll get it before Christmas. Let's just say that. So we'll get it out to you next week. We're obviously not going and doing it today. It's a Sunday and we got a game to watch, but we'll get it off. We'll get it sent out to you in the next couple of days. So just throw want in there and we'll add you into it, and we'll go from there. Let's move back into this Lions team that we got coming at us today. We got the Lions offense going up against this Bears defense. A Lions offense who the team leading receiver is the tight end, which might be tough for us. You got TJ Hawkinson's the leading receiver on the team right now. We already seen Adrian Peterson, first game of the year, kind of got after us a bit. He gashed us up a bit. So going up against a team like this where where the tight end's leading the damn receiving, it doesn't really spell well for us, I wouldn't say. And a team that just fired their head coach. The defense definitely needs to bounce back. What are parts of this offense coming at you that you guys think match up perfectly for the Lions against us?
They haven't really used AP other than that first game. It's been a lot of Kenny Galladay, DeAndre Swift sprinkled in there.
St. Rita kid, Mike, Kenny Galladay.
And Kenny Galladay is a great receiver, but he's been hurt like all year. Yeah. He's had nagging injuries in and out of the lineup, which is what makes TJ Hawkinson their leading receiver, because Marvin Jones is good, but he's not a number one. He played here in Cincinnati, and I saw him for a few years. Yeah. And he's a really good receiver, but he's just never going to be that number one guy. They have a lot of weapons, and they use them pretty well. I mean, it doesn't show up on the wins and losses, I guess. But, I mean, if our run D plays like they did last week, they've got 3 guys to turn to. I mean, Swift was out all week with an illness, but I guess he's questionable, and I'm assuming he's going to play. AP's 150, but he just does what he does. And then I'm a big fan of Kerryon Johnson. I don't know if he's just not being used right in Detroit or what's going on there, but I liked him a lot coming out in the draft. And
yeah, he had a great year that one year too, man. He was like, like you've seen a lot of Lions fans jump on Kerryon Johnson, and he was like their next big thing. And I don't know what really happened to him and how he fell off or why he fell off. But he was. Go ahead.
They've used primarily block back. So if let's say Swift is out, we're going to see Kerryon Johnson play. I think he's been more of a pass catching and run blocking back for them. But I mean, I agree. The Lions have a lot of okay players, a lot of options. They don't have any studs, any stars. Take Galladay out of the mix.
I think Hawkinson can be a stud though if he's used.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what makes them dangerous. But where their weakness is, though, is that they're mistake prone. Like they just like us last week, we had three turnovers that turned into points. I think they had 2 fumbles and a pick six in the first half. I think 2 of the 3, maybe all 3, came in the first quarter, and they were done. So I think the key for the Bears is cause havoc. Cause havoc early, force them into some of these mistakes because they will make them. Peterson has been sort of on a downward trend, but I think that has more to do with DeAndre Swift getting more carries and more of the activity. But Peterson did have 2 touchdowns last week early. So, he's always going to be a threat back there, but I think they have to cause havoc and force turnovers, force the Lions to make a couple mistakes, get ahead early. And then that sets things up for our offense, which we need, because this offense can't win in a shootout. Right. So to me, that's sort of the key. Those weapons, Hawkinson, Amendola, Swift, Peterson, Johnson, they're there. Marvin Hall, they've got some options to go to, and the Bears are definitely going to have to get at Stafford and get at this team early.
Mhm.
Yeah, and Lakino Markham in the chat mentioned about Johnson tearing his ACL that season, and that's what really messed him up. That's absolutely right. Like, he never came back from that. Granted, he's back, but he's definitely a different than what he was before he went down, because he was turning them out, man. He was a great fantasy running back. Granted, the Lions didn't win a lot, but he was a great fantasy running back. He was putting up points, and he was getting the stats, man. And that seems like Mike had mentioned too, this is a lot of I wouldn't say no names, but a lot of middle of the road guys who put up a lot of stats, but just can't put up W's, and continue to struggle in the win column. And the Lions just seem like the Lions are always the Lions, like talking about being in a purgatory and just, stuck. And that's just who they are. And they're constantly stuck there. And I don't know if Swift comes out, like, because he dropped that opening, that week 1 touchdown that would have won the game. Does Swift feel like he owes the Bears a good, like he needs to come out and do something special and needs to just ball out in this game? And then you got
they come out and the Lions are driving, I think they're going to try to get him in the end zone on the first drive, probably.
See, I don't think
he's going to play. I have this funny feeling he's not going to play. This head thing has been kind of like, it kept him out of practice. He practiced Tuesday and he couldn't practice. Like, he was there physically, but just wasn't able to. And then he was out on Wednesday. So something tells me he will not play today, but we certainly have to be prepared for it.
Yeah,
I know. I think Galladay is not playing today. I'm pretty sure he didn't practice
He's out.
Yeah, and he's out. He's out for sure. So that's what I thought, but I wasn't certain. And that's tough for him too, because like we mentioned, that's a St. Rita kid. My little brothers went to St. Rita. You know what I mean? It's a South Side. Like, to come home and play that game, kind of like on the flip side of it, A-Rob going back to Detroit to play this game. You know what I mean? And to come home and not to be able to play that game it's got to be tough on him. You know what I mean? And granted, you never want the other team to do good, but then sometimes you want the little hometown kids to still do good. So whatever, but he's out. So there's nothing really to that. But one thing's for sure, man, this defense has to bounce back. We're 2 minutes away from this top of the hour raffle. So no more names will be taken at 10 o'clock. That's when it'll stop. And then we'll put together this little, so you have to give us a couple minutes, but we'll put together the little random number deal or the random name generator, and we'll let you guys know shortly. But get in there. All you got to do is type want in the chat to be entered for this ball. You type want in the chat, your name's on the list, and we're just going to give away a free sign to Allen Robinson football today. Last thing, well, I guess not last thing, but for this Bears defense, right? Defense needs to bounce back, man. We talked about Mac. We talked about, he hasn't, no sacks in the last 3 games, no quarterback hits last week. And we got Pagano came out and had a little something to say about Khalil Mack not getting sacks or pressures. So we're going to drop that thing in here in a second. And then once that's over, we'll talk about that and let you guys know who won this raffle. So let's go ahead and throw this Pagano talk about Mack in.
He's a pro. He's great. We just sit down, you evaluate it, and you look at it, and you say, okay, what do we have to do? What do I got to do? And again, it falls on me, and we have to put those guys in spots to be successful, and we have to figure out ways to get him, the matchups and to get him out of doubles and triples and slide protections, this, that, and the other. And he gets that part of it, and people are going to make sure that 52 doesn't wreck the game. I'm sure he's the first picture and slide that, that they put up every Monday, whenever the game's being played, and they say, okay, here's how we got to win this game: offense, defense, and special teams. And when you look at our defense, there's 52's picture goes up and says, this guy is not going to wreck the game. So he gets that. Is he frustrated? Hell yeah. We all frustrated? Hell yeah. But I got to figure out a way, to make sure that he's successful and our defense is successful, all those guys, and got to put them in position to do that. And that falls squarely on my shoulders. And so I got to be better there. and he's gonna keep working and grinding and fighting and scratching and clawing.
Yeah, I mean, he said it right there. He took ownership of what the issue is. And I mean, like we said earlier on the recap, if you're doing a 3-man rush, you're not going to get to Aaron Rodgers and you're not going to disrupt him. So, I mean, yeah, we got to find a way to get Mac gone. And I know that he's been on the injury report with a back issue for a few weeks. And I don't know how serious it is, but it seems like he's like not practicing all week, and then he'll play in the game, which continued again this week, I do believe. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know how serious it is. And I have not a great back, so it's not like something I'm not familiar with. And it sucks because they're tricky. I mean, you can get, and he's playing football. You know, he's getting hit every freaking play. So that's a difficult spot. And Pagano, yeah, you need to figure something out. I mean, the Buccaneers showed you how to beat the Packers, and you chose not to do that. So
yeah, and like, I mean, you got Mac dropping back in pressure. You got Quinn dropping back not back in pressure, dropping back in coverage. And from a guy who had originally said, if you like when his
I gotta
first
get him going north and south.
Yeah, like if you got Khalil Mack, you got to go this way more than you go that way. Like he has literally not doing what he said. And we've seen this all around. I mean, Pace, you got to draft a quarterback every year to be successful and find a guy. Like there's all these things that have been said in the past that like Bears fans like key in on they're not being done. And why is Quinn and Mac dropping back in cover? Like you have these guys like, I mean, granted, a lot of us are questioning on why Danny Trevathan is dropping back in coverage, or like, yo, you don't want Danny covering this guy. But I think we can accept the fact that he's gonna have to do that. But why do it with Mac and with Quinn? And Quinn's just, you know, I mean, he's been I wouldn't say a bust, but he's just
had a disappointment, man.
Yeah, he hasn't performed where he was supposed to, and a lot of
excited about that signing, and he just hasn't shown up at all on the stat sheet.
And it seems like a pretty simple solution. I'm not a smart man. I'm obviously not a football coach, but when Pagano says we got to figure out a way, might that way include lighting a fire under Quinn's ass and saying, "Hey, get to the quarterback and ease some of the pressure off of Mac"? Because I agree with you. Every week, the other team has to be looking at film and saying, okay, 52. We're going to cover him with 2 guys. Like he will not beat us. And especially if he's got a nagging injury, he's not going to be effective. So you have to counter. You have to have whoever's on the opposite end. We complained about Floyd for the same reasons last year. Yeah. Now look at what he's doing.
Putting up Pro Bowl numbers.
Quinn, like step up. That to me, that's what the figure it out is he's got to figure it out. He's got to find a way to get to the quarterback, get through protection, and we won't be talking about Mac anymore.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's collective, right? Like a lot of it should be collective. Like Pagano obviously knows that he's not, like he said, I got to get better. I got to figure it out. But a lot of it, I think, should be collective. It should be Pagano going over to Quinn and being like, hey, man, what do you see? What can I do? What can I do to make you more successful? Like, what are you seeing at the line? What is happening here? Like, are you in? Is this position? Like, whatever, right? And just to open up the communication. And I don't know, maybe that happens. Maybe it doesn't happen. I'm not really sure. But in order to, when you have a player who's an all-pro player who's straight struggling, and you're over halfway through the season, and this guy is still struggling and not doing what he needs to do, there has to be some sort of sit down that happens with this guy. And you're like, dude, where am I going wrong for you? What can I do? What can I do to make you the Robert Quinn that we brought on this team and the one that we were looking for? And kind of telling him, like, and he knows obviously, but telling him you're not performing to why we brought you here. Tell me what I can do to get you to that. And that also kind of throws, lets the player know, like, fuck, like I'm definitely not what they thought I was. Yeah. And lets the player give you input as to where he thinks the problem is, instead of being like behind, in the locker room, like, man, if coach fucking doesn't pull his head out of his ass this week, or or whatever and run in his mouth, right?
Well,
It kind of just
I
lets you
liked
do
what the comment that was just at the bottom of the screen. It was a couple of comments ago now, but he was talking about how much we're missing Hicks with Hicks's injury. Yeah, there it is. And not having a nose tackle. I mean, we all talked about it here on this show about go out and get Snacks Harrison. Grab somebody. We need a big body to put in there. But not only we're playing all backups on the D line. Last week we were. I mean, Hicks is out. Goldman opted out. They did nothing to cover that hole. And Roy Robertson Harrison's injured as well. So we have Daniel McCullers, a guy we grabbed off the Steelers practice squad, who I think might have a good future. He's just not. I mean, no one's Goldman, but he's not up to par with where we need a nose tackle to be.
He's a roadblock.
Right. And then Bilal Nichols is doing the freaking best he can. I think he's a hell of a talent, but he's no Akeem Hicks. And then we have, a plethora of guys coming in and out on the other side. You got Brent Urban coming in, playing a little. John Jenkins comes in and plays a little. And we're playing all backups on the D line, and that really hurts your linebackers because they've got to at least take up some blockers and let those guys get after it behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, right? I just think that with as much talent that is on this defense, you should never see a game like you saw last week, and especially where like the players come out afterwards and they're like saying, like we mentioned earlier, they're saying like they knew everything we were doing. They were calling our everything. When I could see that happening if Khalil Mack is your one freaking defensive stud, or if Roquan Smith is your one stud. I could see that being easier to diagnose and easier to call out, right? But when you have Quinn, Hicks didn't play, but you have a Hicks, you have Danny T, you have Roquan, you have Mac, you have all these guys. How the hell is the other quarterback still like, you know what? No, fuck it. It's 52 this time. 52's coming. Like, check 52. Like, how is he still calling it out when you have all these weapons? That's the part that bothers me. And like Pagano said, like, not just the Mac thing for me. I think everything's on him. The quarterback being able to diagnose what you're doing is the defensive coordinator's fault. You're failing at disguising what you're doing. And that's where my problem with all that is. And I think the defense needs it's not as easy as just having a stud defense. There's nothing more that's being brought to the table right now with Pagano, and he could honestly be one of them that are on his way out with everybody else.
Yeah, and I wonder how much like pressure has to do with it too. Like they know, and they're on the field the majority of the game, but knowing that they have to carry the team, and like that's got to get exhausting, right? At some point, you get 12 weeks into the season, and there hasn't been a single game where your offense won the game for you, and that's got to play a role in just these guys just kind of mentally getting beat up from that. And then maybe it takes a game like last week in Green Bay that it could serve as a wake up call where everybody can wake up and now everybody steps up to a new level this week. But that shouldn't be lost either, is the fact that these guys game in, game out, they're on the field for the majority of the game, and they know that the victory is dependent on them getting a pick six or a strip sack that turns into points. Like without that, chances of winning are very slim.
Yeah. All right. So I'm getting an update here from the Godfather, Mr. Gandia, that we actually have a winner of today's giveaway, Allen Robinson football. And I know, look, we're not like the other shows. I'm not going to make you guys stay here and you got to stay to the end of the show to figure out if you won or not. Fuck it. We're just trying to give it away. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to stay to the end of the show, bounce the fuck out after we give it to you. It doesn't bother me either way. But we'd appreciate
leave a like.
Yeah, but just go ahead and drop in the comments that dude's an asshole because he said he doesn't care if you stay. But we're gonna go ahead and do this thing real quick. So I'm told we have this little video with a little thing. So I'm gonna shut up and here we go. Ooh, the winner is Aaron Michalski. Aaron, congratulations. Hit us up on Twitter, man. Send us a DM with your address and where you want the ball going to, and we will get it out to you as soon as possible. Like we said, we're not going to do it today, but it'll probably be done tomorrow or Tuesday. But we'll get this thing sent out to you, and definitely get it to you before Christmas. For everybody in the chat, we appreciate you joining the little raffle there, and we got, I don't know how many more. I think we got like 7 more of these to give away. So we're going to do different things with them and just, pop one in on a show or throw one in like we did last week on a raffle on Twitter. Or every now and then do the A-Rob Within Reach Foundation and raffle one off with a donation to them. But knowing that it's the holiday seasons and COVID and all this, we know people are tight on money. Yeah, we know people are tight on money. So we want to just give them away sometimes too.
If I'm not mistaken, that guy has a pretty sweet man cave. If he's the guy I'm thinking he is, like he's got his basement wall painted with the GSH and 3 stripes on it.
Nice.
So that football is going to look pretty good in that man cave if that's the guy I'm thinking it is.
I'm pretty certain he's got a pretty sweet fucking beard too. You know what I mean? But either way,
yeah. It's all right. I mean, it's all right.
Does it smell as good as AC's?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. All right, let's move over to the other side, man. Let's move over to the other side of this thing, and go with the Lions defense with our Bears offense. We got, this is Mitch's. Might not be, but we could say that this is probably his favorite team to face. We got this dude, 3 touchdowns in each of the 4 games that he's played against them. He's thrown 3 touchdowns, and I'm not no fantasy expert. You can look at my fantasy score, but I got Mitch on my team, and I'm going to throw him in there today.
I mean, you better check it because you had Josh Jacobs in. I mean, I don't know.
Am I playing you today?
No, I think you're playing Aldo.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Well, I'm just saying the last couple times, I think I played you in a game where my quarterback was hurt and I didn't even have a quarterback playing, but I still managed to get that dub. Which
my team's disappointing this year.
Yeah, either way. But we got Mitch. He's what do we got here?
I don't know if you guys can see that. I don't know if it's
you got Trubisky.
We got him starting today.
So, perfect.
This is a dire situation for me in fantasy when I'm going with Trubisky, but I agree with you guys. I mean, I think he could have a big day today, and I picked him to be my starter this week.
Perfect.
Crazy.
All right, so what do we think? I mean, Okuda's out. We've seen that. Okuda's out.
I think they got some injuries on the D-line as well.
Yeah, and this is a team that gives up 133 yards rushing a game, man. How does this do for what Laser brings to the table? And what are your guys' thoughts going into this game?
Well, I wore my Mitch jersey today because Mitch always plays well against Detroit, and I think he will again. As long as the interim head coach doesn't decide to change his defense, because that's what got them into trouble. Is they would always run man, no matter how bad it got. They said we're running man to man, and Mitch struggles more trying to read his own defense than he does man to man, or those zone blitz mixture defenses. He struggles with those.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he wants to stick with the man to man defensive philosophy, which I don't think he'll change too much in the middle of a season, it might be difficult to do that. But I think Mitch is going to have a good game. And then you mentioned the giving up 133 rushing yards, and we finally saw them actually run the ball last week. So if we can stay in the game, I definitely think we're going to see a heavy dose of Montgomery this week. And that's how I see it going down.
Honestly, for me, I think if you're going to see something change, it's going to be the defense. Matt Patricia, obviously a big, Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, turned head coach, right? And I would assume that he had the majority of input over the defense over there. And that, without things aren't working out, he gets fired. Bevel, I think, is going to continue to run the offense, and that he's just going to be like, hey, free reign. It's your defense. Do what you want. Let's see what happens. I mean, what do they really have to lose at this point in the season when you're 4-7 and you're taking over as a head coach and you have a defensive coordinator? You really have nothing to lose. You're like, this is your time to be like, hey, without anybody looking over me or without anybody like having input on what play calls I was making, this is what we were able to do as a team. So I think we do see a different defense. I think we see things changed up, and I think the Lions team is actually bought into what is going on. Because like Mike mentioned and you mentioned earlier, this was a team that really they weren't really being led by Matt Patricia. They were kind of okay with him being in that spot, but there was a lot more players that had things negatively to say about Patricia, and you didn't see like you see with the Bears with guys coming out saying, well, I believe in Matt Nagy. I believe in Nagy as a coach. You never saw that. Only thing you saw was people talking shit about him. So I think this is a win-win for their defensive coordinator, for Bevel. I think it's a win-win all the way around for them, man. And why not? Just fucking what'd you say, AC? Throw shit at a wall and see what sticks, man. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think we will see zone today for sure. Mitchell Trubisky was 0-2 against the Lions when Caldwell was a coach, and they were playing primarily zone coverage defense. And we know Mitch and his inability to read defenses and progressions are terrible. And Patricia was just stubborn. And I think that was the key to their success against, or Mitch's success against Detroit. So I expect that we'll see that. Corey Youngland will have 100% of the ability to call a game how he wants to. Yeah. So we'll see. That could be a key. That could be a big key. But again, if we could get ahead early and establish run, then none of that really should matter much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it'll come down to Bill Lazor stacking good plays on each other and run the ball. You go play action off of it.
Yeah, and like Aldo just put it in the chat there. Start thinking about your score predictions, bold predictions. We want to hear what you guys got to say. We're gonna throw them in there. Another thing that I would like to mention here. Well, before we get to that, let me just say A-Rob and Darnell Mooney for this week right now they're listed as questionable. I think A-Rob's definitely in this game. I think Mooney's definitely in this game. I don't think you see either of them miss it. And I think we see more of a kind of. I think Mitch felt like he had to make those throws last week. I think when it's Bears Packers, Mitch's first game back. Like I kind of said last week on the show, I think we're going to see him force a lot more shit against the Packers, which obviously didn't turn out that well. I think he forced more throws. I think he felt like he had to win that game to prove.
Well, plus we got down early, so he didn't have a choice but to try to make those plays.
Yeah, but I mean, there was that one pick that he kind of just threw up. We weren't really down on that one yet. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There was the one where he threw into double coverage in the end zone that just looked like it was thrown to the defense.
The way that play was discussed after the game made it sound like everybody was on board with it. Like, come hell or high water, that ball was going to Mooney.
Yeah, they were banging Mooney. They were banging Mooney all the way down the field. He couldn't even try to get over to the corner.
And I seen that, Mike, and I know what you're saying, AC. But isn't that just poor fucking coaching? When hey, this play, no matter what, let's
jam it in.
Let's do it. Like who does that shit? Like that should be one of the main reasons why you're like, yo, what is your philosophy?
Yep.
Like did you really just backyard football a bitch and say like, hey, no matter what, we're throwing this thing to you. Like I don't care if the whole defensive line covers Mooney and everybody drops back, we're throwing that ball up because it don't matter. Like that's just pathetic, I think. And hey, look, first go route to Mooney. That's your first look. If it's one-on-one, throw it up. I'm okay with that, right? Otherwise, look here and here. But like if you say like, hey, go route to Mooney. If he's double covered, I don't give a fuck. Throw it. That's horrible, dude. Like who does that? You know what I'm saying? So that was one thing that honestly I would have pulled it if I thought about it. About them saying that, but I was actually like upset when I heard that. Like, well, that was the design play. We were throwing it there no matter what. That's just fucking piss poor. Especially in a game like that. Like that doesn't hype anybody up. Do you think the offense is really hyped up in the huddle when you're like, hey, here's the play. Mooney, go deep. We're fucking throwing it to you. Everybody else, do something. Ready, break. like what
Anthony Miller's like, what the hell? We didn't practice that.
Yeah. So
Did y'all see his comments this week?
Did you see their likes and all that stuff that they were doing? Just don't end up in Green Bay, A-Rob, please. Golly.
No. I don't know. That stuff pisses me off a little bit. Like, I get it. Like, it's easier for players to do now. Twitter didn't exist, so I'm sure guys would have done it before. But, like,
oh, yeah.
Talk about a slap in the face to fans. Like, that rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah,
I feel like if Twitter was around, those 85 Bears, those defensive guys would have gotten some trouble.
No, oh, yeah, 100%.
That would have been fun to follow.
But I mean, isn't it kind of like a pat on the back though to when another team's fan base comes out and they say like, "Hey, A-Rob, we'd love to see you in Green Bay, man. Love the way you play. You'd be awesome here." Is that something that a player shouldn't like in your guys' thought?
If he was ever to go to Green Bay, I just hope you never fumble with the game on the line because
I know I get that. I know I get that part too. But for somebody to kind of like say that, hey, we love you, man, you're great, and we just really think you would do well here. Is that wrong for a player to like it when somebody says that they love you and they think you're great?
Like it privately. Do you need to like it publicly? I mean, do I need to see that as a guy that supports these guys week in and week out? It's just a bad look. In my opinion, it's just a bad look. Like, you still, as a player, like, you've got some responsibilities to be a Chicago Bear between the lines and outside of the lines. And is that what you want your players? I mean, it says a lot. I mean, if you don't want to be here, maybe there's a reason we haven't extended Allen Robinson. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, and I think cash is one of the main reasons that we haven't, and I think we kind of went overboard or got off on it there. But I just wanted to know what you guys thought. Like, if somebody was to say,
I love A-Rob. Obviously, he's a friend of the show. We talked to him on here, but I think he wants Julio D Hop money, and he's just not Julio D Hop level. I mean, that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean. Do you think he could be, or do you think he's just not?
There's certain catches that he doesn't make that those guys, like the D-Hop Hail Mary play. Do you see Allen Robinson coming down with that, regardless of who the quarterback is?
I mean, I honestly
three defenders.
I honestly didn't see D-Hop coming down with that. I mean, he did, but I wouldn't have said that he would have. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's a fair counter, though, that playing in Jacksonville and playing in Chicago haven't been the best environments for
absolutely. He hasn't had the greatest quarterbacks. If he went somewhere with a great, like I think I may have said it on the show. If I haven't, I've said to you guys privately. If I'm Allen Robinson, I'm looking to go to Houston and playing. I mean, he'll be a number one. He'll have a quarterback. They'll have a new. I'd love to see him here in Chicago, but it would also suck for him to sit here through a rebuild.
Yeah, dude. So I was just reading some signs. So I guess it has to be me because I'm normally the culprit here. But we got a comment in the chat here from Stephen Cohen, I think, or maybe it's just Cohen. He can't listen to the conversation because every other word's an obscenity. Yeah, sorry, man. Get back in the bubble wrap. Audacity might have a fucking Candyman sticker for you soon, if that's the way you feel. But sorry, dude. There's some other people. Like, I believe these guys are veterans. That's just the way they talk.
Bears Sunday School.
Yeah, there's some other Bears farm. He's looking for Bears Sunday School. My bad. Maybe look in his defense, and I know I
try my best not to curse, but
I know I'm probably the culprit. And in Steve's defense, I will say maybe he's on his way to church and he's got his kid in the car, and then he's got Bobby Bombs just like fuck this, like totally get it, man, totally get it. And if that was the case, sorry. If it was just because you have sensitive ears, fuck off. I don't care. All right. So last things that we got. well, not last things. We have Mitch. So we started talking about Mitch, and I totally missed it. But Mitch talking about how he thought the Pack game went and everything like that. So let me drop that in here real quick, and then we'll get to score predictions, bold predictions. So here we go.
I think after watching mistakes, the main thing is taking care of the football. And it's easy to say, a little bit harder to do, especially going into it. You just have a mindset, I'm going to take care of the football. I'm not going to force things. But you get into a game, especially early on when we have a play called that we wanted to take a shot on all week. I take the shot, and the defense made a play than we did. They intercept the ball. Later on in the game, we're down by a couple scores. I try to take another shot. Ball doesn't come out right. The ball doesn't go where I want it to go, and defense makes another good play. And then we have the fumble, which is just harping on two hands on the ball in the pocket and protecting that football. So it's definitely frustrating, but some plays it just happens in football. You got to let it go, and you're going to have those throughout the flow of a season and in games. And it's a common theme with quarterbacks. You have a better chance of winning when you take care of the football. So it's very obvious to stay. You just got to go out there and do it.
Absolutely. You got to go out there and can't throw in triple coverage.
I think Mitch just seemed like he wanted to get the hell out of that comment. That seemed like it was in fast forward.
I wouldn't want to talk about that.
Yeah. And I get it where they said, go ahead, Mike.
We see a different Mitch though now too, right? Like since he came back after the Foles experiment, I mean, I think he knows like, look, it's not going to be here next year, but I got nothing to lose now. So like, I almost feel like we're hearing in these press conferences too a different Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is, and I think he's like, I think everybody kind of is at a sense of where like they're uncertain. Like and I know Caesar put it in there. I know we were talking about a little while ago with Anthony Miller, like liking tweets saying he should be in this or that. Miller's not even in a contract year, is he? Like. This dude is still locked up for at least another year. So I don't understand how some of these guys, the part that I don't want to see is like this whole mutiny of like, oh, well, A-Rob's leaving, then I'm going to leave. Or if they ain't going to take care of this guy, they ain't going to take care of me or whatever. Because when it gets into the business sense, these dudes have to think individually and stop thinking collectively. You know what I mean? And I feel like and granted, I know A-Rob's like he comes on the show. We chat with him back and forth through DMs sometimes. Like I get that he's a big supporter and we're a big supporter of him. But what I would hate to see is his contract situation or just situation in general affect the wide receiver group because it's business. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it shouldn't affect the rest of the dudes. It should just be mind your business when it comes to the money. Let those dudes do this or that and continue to play and go for the W. But unfortunately, it looks like guys are liking these other, shout outs from other teams saying come here, come there, or do this or do that.
And we could be wrong. Allen Robinson could be re-signed. Maybe he wants to stay in Chicago. And I'd have him, obviously. Like I said, he's a friend of the show. He come on here and talk to us, and we partner with his Within Reach Foundations, which is awesome. Actually, this week I think they're doing the My Cleats, My Cause, and he's got some Allen Robinson Foundation cleats that he'll be wearing today. So that'll be cool to see on the field. I just don't. How can you pay him $20 million and then you still got to find a quarterback, whether it's in the draft, free agency, or what have you? And we got an O-line to fix. I don't know where all this money's coming from.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
not the 70s and 80s where they didn't have a salary cap. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of spots that, and if they feel that they're not close enough on a quarterback, you know what I mean? Look, I don't know. And A-Rob had specific. I mean, he said, "Yeah, I love Chicago. I would love to stay here." Whether or not that happens is up to the organization at this point. And that was really it. We told him we wouldn't bother him with the questions of contract and how much or this or that. And that's just kind of out of respect for his personal life. But it'll all be released one day. We're just not trying to be the ones that are pressuring him for the information or break this news or that news or whatever. But that's just kind of how it went with him. One thing before we get into score predictions, bold predictions, we have lock down Manscaped for at least the rest of the season and the rest of the year, and well into next year and that. So perfect time of the year for your Manscaped, for your number one player on the field, like they say here. Manscaped has agreed to continue to sponsor the Barfly Tailgate show, and we appreciate them and everything that they bring to the table. And just in time for the Manscaped stocking stuffer. I mean, how else are you going to stuff stockings in your house? Go ahead, get over to manscaped.com, check out a few of their products. Prime stocking stuffers for this season. You got the crop preserver, the crop reliever, the crop cleanser, the crop mop. You got all kinds of stuff. Shit, you can even throw a foot duster in there. The weed whacker. It's a nose trimmer / ear and hair trimmer. Provides the little cleanup all the way around.
Yeah.
And then let's not forget the one on the screen, the Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. It offers the best replacement ceramic braids, advanced skin technology, helps to reduce the grooming accidents. It's got, a little light on there. It's got the nick-free technology all the way around, man. I mean, whether it's for you or for somebody in your family or just, the dudes, you got to keep those jewels clean, keep them protected. Just check it out right now. Use code BARROOM20. Get 20% off and free shipping on all your manscaped.com. Just get over there. Code BARROOM20. Doesn't matter what you buy. Just throw BARROOM20 in there. And, be the, deck your balls with fucking balls of holly, or whatever you need to do. Just get them cleaned up, get them ready for the holiday season. Check out Manscaped. Get over there. Make sure you use code BARROOM20 on all of your purchases. And thanks for everybody who's already purchased from Manscaped and those that continue to. We appreciate your guys' support and definitely I'm sure your better halves appreciate your shiny jewels. So check it out over there. All right, let's get into score predictions, bold predictions, and what we got left. If you're in the chat, drop in there any bold predictions, score predictions. Let us know how you feel this Lions game is going to go today. I'm going to come around the room to these guys. We're going to see what they got. I'm going to start this one with Mr. Mike Schaefer. Mike, what you got, man? What's your score prediction first?
Score prediction. So at first I had this as an ugly 19-16 victory, just ugly. But the more I think about it, I think Mitch is going to have a good day, mostly because I added him to my fantasy team this week. So I can't now want him to score 3 or 4 touchdowns. So I've added 7 to it. I've got it as a weird 26-16 victory for the Bears.
26-16 Bears. What about your bold predictions? What you got on that?
I'm going to go over 150 yards rushing for the team, for the Bears, which we have not done all season. I think we came close in week 1 against Detroit. We talked about Detroit's run defense boding pretty well for something like that earlier in the show. I think today's a day where they get ahead early, get that run game on track, 150 yards on the ground from the Bears.
Easy day, 150 yards and a Bears victory. AC, coming over to you, man. What's your bold prediction, score predictions? What do you got?
My bold prediction is that the Bears defense shows up this week and we have 3 interceptions. We're going to have Eddie Jackson with 1, Kyle Fuller gets 1, and our boy Jalen Johnson gets 1. And we win this ball game 24-21 on a last-second field goal by Cairo Santos. So I guess that's a couple of bold predictions in there, but Bears get the dub today.
Let me read through some of these bold predictions that we got in here. Our boy, Mr. Ryan Badgley's hopping in there. He's got Monty with 2 rushing touchdowns. Jimmy says 150 yards also. Let's see. There was one up here that Jim Sanders said, 41-17 Lions. Afterwards,
wow.
He said afterwards, everybody is fired.
Okay.
It better be if that's the score.
If that's the case, Jim, I'm 100% with you. If that's the case, fire everybody afterwards. Get them out of here. Darren Chambers, defense gets 2 picks and are on Lions, and Mac has 2 sacks. So Mac gets back in the game. We got 24. Darren Chambers says 24-17 Bears. Matt gets 2 sacks in this game. Defense gets 2 interceptions. I could be 100% wrong, but I don't give a shit. Go Bears. Hey, that's why they're called bold predictions.
Man, all week I was thinking to myself, we're going to lose this ball game. And then I get in here today and we start talking about it and breaking it down and talking how Mitch has success against the Lions. And then I was just like, hell with it. We getting this dub today.
Yeah. All right. So I haven't really thought of a score. Let me go. I'll go 34. All right. So Bears are getting 34, but I'm going 4 passing touchdowns for Mitch. I'm saying Mitch puts up 4 throwing touchdowns today, 4 passing touchdowns, and I will go collectively as an offense that we're over 150. I won't say Monty's going over 150 by himself, but I'll say collectively we're over 150. I think the Bears win. What did I say? 34.
Sweetness.
Yeah, sweetness. So let's go 34-13 with a Bears victory. And I think that this like really is, and I'm the same way as you, AC. Like honestly, the one time or the times when I say I think the Bears are going to lose, they blow out and win. So maybe I should start saying that they're going to lose them all, and then we get the blowout. Because I've actually thought about that. I guess it's only weird if it doesn't work. But but I will have to say that I think this is the perfect recipe for Bears fans to be stuck in purgatory still. We go on these next 4 games, right? And say we out of the next, we only lose against the Vikings. That puts us almost at a 500 season again, or maybe just over, depending on how the last ones shake out there. But I think we just sit there and toy with this possible playoff berth all the way to the end of the season. And who knows what happens in the last game, but I think that that's what's going to happen to us because that's our punishment. And that's what we're here for. And it's just perfect Bears football on how everything goes. So I'm thinking that that's how things are going to pan out. And whatever, man, we're just going to be stuck doing this thing. Let's go around the room real quick. Shout outs over to AC. You got anything? You got any shout outs, AC?
Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to you guys for letting me come on here and do my therapy session every week. Talk about some Bears football. Talk about Bears, the future of the Bears. A lot of people in the chat are talking about how we're not going to win this game today. They've lost all faith.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, like I said, all week, I thought we were going to lose. I actually thought kind of the reverse of my bold prediction. I thought Matt Prater was going to hit a last-second field goal, but I flipped it. It's just it's hard. It's hard for me to not root for the Bears to get a win. I mean, if we, like I said earlier in the show, if we don't win, okay. If we do win, hell yeah. I don't know. Shout out to y'all though. Shout out to Aldo for running the show and doing the stuff behind the scenes that he doesn't get enough credit for. He works his butt off for us to be able to come on here and just be a talking head, and I appreciate that so much, man, because I'm not technically savvy or technologically savvy. See, I can't even speak either. So I don't know why y'all keep me around, but I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. And I see some of the comments in the chat. Clovers is picking, the Lions to win. We're imploding. These are the Lions. Like if this was anybody else, if this was any other below 500 team, I would say that we're going to lose. But this is the Lions, and this victory is going to keep us toying with purgatory even a little longer. So I think that's why we're going to win it. Over to you, Mike. What do you think, dude? Or any shout outs, any last shout outs?
Yeah, for sure. But first up with AC, like I felt the same way at the beginning of the week that there's no way the Bears could win another game. But the more you get to know your opponent, you know, and then it Bears like passion starts to kind of brew up a little bit. But if we lose this week, we got big problems. And I just don't think that they will. So you get smarter. Shout outs to my nephew first. My nephew Anthony turned 12 yesterday. Huge Bears fan. So happy birthday to Anthony.
Happy birthday.
Everybody in the chat Bear down. I hope those of you that are less optimistic about today are wrong, and we get the Bears dub today. But shout out to all you guys, all Bears fans. And then last but not least, I take that back. I got two more. Shout out to Badge. Get well, man. We miss you.
Yeah.
And then my last shout out goes to my beer man, Terry Miller. Shout out to all food service workers that have lost out on opportunities to make money. My guy, Terry, is the heart and soul of Section 250 at Soldier Field. He literally fuels us on game day with the golden beverage of nectar of the gods. But we posted this on Deep Dish Tees yesterday. It's a shirt where all proceeds will go to Terry. He relies on income from beer sales and tips in the season. Didn't get it this year, so all proceeds go to my man. So shout out to Terry, to Badge, my nephew, and all Bears fans.
Awesome, man. Yeah, hell yeah. Get over there. Get over to Deep Dish Cheese. Check out the Terry Miller shirt. Get up, pull one in, man. Just bring one in and hook Terry up with the proceeds. That's awesome, Mike. Appreciate all that. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you guys. Mr. Badgley, of course, get well soon, dude. Badge is doing better. Like for those of you in the chat that were asking, or he's doing better. He's on the come up. So nothing life threatening or anything like that. It's just, a little cold in that. And he's, the voice is what's hurting. So he didn't want to come in and cough or have the Bobby Baum's scraggly ass voice. Like only one of us could sound like that on here. No. Either way, thanks to Mr. Gandia, to everybody in the chat. A couple of shout outs and mine are a little, had two close friends pass away these last couple of weeks. One of them was a Marine pilot, Mr. Nick Kasich, call sign Dad Bod. Dad Bod, we love you, man. Thankful for our friendship and everything, and you'll forever be missed, my dude. And then the other one of my South Side of Chicago boys, Matt Moss, old Moss man. Love you, man, and appreciate the friendship and everything over the years. Definitely two big losses of just great people, man, great dudes. Yeah. And I know I don't normally do that on here. It's been rough. 2020 sucks. Hopefully this thing's almost over with. Hopefully we all push through it. Everybody's saying, this whole thing is going to end soon. I hope so, man. I don't know if that's really the case. I don't see an end in sight, but who knows? But that's it. I know I don't normally do that and get on that side of it, but it's been an emotional week. So for both of them and their families, love you guys, and and just keep you in my prayers, and you got to keep on pushing, man. Tough times for sure. For you boys and everybody that's joined us, we appreciate everything. I know I'm going with the Bears victory today because come on, it's the Lions, man.
It's the
lie downs. If you're in the fourth quarter of 2020. There's no better team to play than the Lions. So here we are, fourth quarter of 2020. If 2020 was a football season, you would want the Lions right now because you're in the fourth quarter of it. So that's where we're at. We're in the fourth quarter of 2020. We got the Lions. We need the victory. Again, thank you to everybody who joined in the little raffle. Thank you to everybody who joined the show. Downloads, all that stuff, rate, review. You guys are the best, man. We're getting all kinds of stuff from you guys and feedback and that. And we greatly appreciate your interaction. And yeah, call us out on our bullshit if you want to. I don't mind. It's totally okay. We're all fanalists. I said, I'm not trying to put any of there is no pedestal around here. We all fucking reach down and grab from the same bottom of the cooler, and that's what we do. You know what I mean? So we appreciate all you guys joining us. And once again, let's get this hopeful Bear dub and end this thing with a fat ass bear down.
Bear down.
Bear down.
Thank you.